we've had an amazing break. We were chatting about this, that, and the other, and we were all getting ourselves ready for this next bit of our podcast. So welcome back to part 2 with Sarah Gustafson, and now we're going to explore relationships. This is one thing I've been really looking forward to. So, look, where do we start with relationships? I suppose we start from the beginning, like with childhood relationships. We'll get to the nitty gritty and the good stuff a bit later on. But I mean, I could start with saying, in terms of my relationships, as I grew up, especially with not knowing at the time about being neurodiverse and how I dealt with emotions and my interactions and impatience, I think it did cause a lot of problems with my parenting. I was always slow to do things, like it wasn't my father's fault in terms of those relationships. The other kids, my brothers and sisters, I think they capitulated and fell into the norm of, listening to what the dad says or the mum. But I was always difficult, and I didn't even realise that I was being difficult. I thought that my dad didn't understand me sometimes, or was always barking at me and telling me what to do. And so that manifested for a while. And I think when I went into school, authority was a huge issue for me. Authority. If I tried to ask a teacher a question and they ignored me, because being neurodiverse, we ask a lot of questions, and I would go, "But sir, why and what?" And I think they used to get pissed off with them at my time, because they just want to get in the class, teach, and they think that you should just listen.
Do you think that you're being disobedient by asking questions, but you're not?
You're not, and you shouldn't be. And I'm glad, just jumping when you, every now and then, Sarah. But I think an inquisitive mind, and that's part of being neurodiverse, we ask questions. We ask a lot of questions. But for some teachers, that is being disobedient. You're disrupting their class and so forth. And I was always made to feel that I shouldn't ask any questions, that I should keep my mouth shut. And if I got restless and I needed to get up or do something, again, I was naughty. So authority was a huge issue for me, and obedience and listening. Now, whether or not some children can follow direction very easily at a young age, but I do think that being neurodiverse on the spectrum, or being any of those kind of things, it does make it harder for you to manage emotions. And I think we were touching on that, the emotional side of things. And so in terms of teachers and parents, don't get me wrong, I love my mum and dad, and but I struggled my relationships within school, and especially with some kids in school as well. I think we can dig into that, because I'll get your take on it. I think some kids at school I really got on with, and there was no problems. But I do remember getting into some really serious fights and altercations with certain kids in school. And I don't know why, but I think I was too young to understand. But if they called me names, if they ridiculed certain things I did, because I told you I used to rock a lot, and in school I did some really silly things, and that kind of gave kids the thing to take the piss out of me. And another thing, and I never really, and this is going off track a bit with the relationships, and I was talking to my brother the other day about this, and I was peeing the bed until I was about 12, 13, which is very, very old for a child to be peeing the bed. And it disturbed me a lot. I mean, 7, 8 was fine, but I'd wake up at 12 years old in the middle of the night and I'd piss myself in bed. And I was asking my brother about, and I'm being open because I think it's good.
Yeah.
We said we're going to have a very open and I know you're going to talk about some stuff, but this is the first time I'm talking about this.
Yeah.
And these sort of things are things that kids will frown upon, or my mum, my dad, and it was very, very emotionally embarrassing for me to be peeing the bed I think I must have been 12, 13. But it did stop suddenly. But I did go a few weeks ago, I think it must have been a month ago, 2 months ago, and Googled. I mean, Google can be used a lot now. And I Googled, is there a relationship between neurodiversity and bedwetting? And lo and behold, there's a high percentage of kids that are on the spectrum neurodiverse that do wet the bed.
I wondered if it's a unregulated nervous system issue, because obviously when you're on the spectrum, you're very uncomfortable all the time. In environments that that other people wouldn't be bothered by. You're uncomfortable, and that's the only way I can describe it. And I can only relate to that because I remember when I was in a horrendous relationship, like domestic violence type, like a good 10 years ago now, and I started wetting the bed.
Adult age?
Yeah, not like all the time. It was when a big fight or an argument had happened, or we go to bed and we wouldn't speak or something. Or if I'd had a drink or something around that time, and it was when my nervous system was completely shook. And I think that might be a link to it. That's just my own, what I think it could be, because I know when I was really uncomfortable in my life and almost frightened at times, that's when it started kicking in with me.
Yeah. I think, Sarah, you've got a good point, because there were moments in my early teens where...
Secondary school trying to adapt to that, the bullies.
Because I stopped about a year into secondary school, like 12, but I think a lot of the apprehensive going into a school environment was quite nerve-wracking for me. I'm glad you kind of mentioned about fear and stuff. But as I said before, anyone that's watching this, if this helps you with a child or even your own understanding of being neurodiverse, and I want to have an open, candid conversation with people today about some things that affected me growing up being neurodiverse. And I said bedwetting was something that was very, very, very hard for me to deal with. And it's hard to talk about. But if it helps anyone watching with their child or anything, then please do. Or any person studying neurodiversity and especially the physical kind of manifestations it has, this might bring up a theme or a topic that can be discussed with kids. So let's talk about relationships.
Talking about school and the things that you were talking
about.
I always managed to make friends, a lot of friends, but I couldn't always keep them. So I was one of them. Come round, blah, blah, blah. Come here, get the group together, and then all of a sudden, one by one, they'd all like fuck me off, basically.
Can I tell you?
Can I swear on this?
No, we can swear. Why do you think they all fucked off?
I think
my French.
Not all of them did, and I've been my friends since I was younger. But I think there's two things, and it's only playing out now in my adult life that I'm starting to realise it. If people aren't very assertive with me, I don't know no boundary with that. So even as an adult, so if you look at a child who's 12 and they're like, do you want to do that in a school play? Do you want to be that part? Do you want to? And that other child hasn't got the capacity to go, no, I don't want to do that. Then I push that part on them, thinking they're happy for it, not reading the facial expressions, not understanding that they're uncomfortable and they don't want to do it. So I might make them feel uncomfortable without even realising it, because I'm asking them. They're not answering me assertively. So therefore, it doesn't mean no. Like, you've got to actually tell me no. You have to actually say to me, no, I don't want to. Because I take that as you might want to. Because there's no definition of no, where other people would know and read the room. I don't read the room. I still don't read the room now. I cross boundaries daily because I don't read the room.
With neurodiversity, boundaries can be a serious element. As I said, I've done so many podcasts, but we did say about neurodiversity and being risk takers and being very sexually promiscuous. We can be very... take serious
impulsive
risks. There's definitely drug orientations towards being neurodiverse. And I think I've dabbled in quite a few of those things. I am a risk taker. It excites me. And I don't know why, but I think neurodiverse people...
I know
because
why.
you need to push back...
because we lack dopamine. We lack dopamine.
Now, hold on. So... Right, we're going to move away from...
That, but
no, I'm happy. This is part of Neuro-Diverse. Hold on.
But to answer that question,
are we going to go into? I think now that you touched on dopamine, let's break off a bit because I love this.
Do you think, or do you think stay on the relationship?
No.
Okay.
I think it's always good to have a little offshoot and then come back onto relationships.
Okay.
So because Sarah Gustafson did the thing and started talking about dopamine,
I love
we're gonna dig into. Yeah, I love it. We're gonna dig into dopamine now. A lot of people who do or do not understand dopamine, it's a chemical that's released in the body. For some people, it's normal and it's regulated, but they have noticed that with people on the spectrum, dopamine levels can be very, very, very erratic.
Very low.
Erratic. It can go really high as well and be totally off the roof. But you're right, it can be very low. And when dopamine levels are low, it can affect your emotions, how you interact with people. So Sarah, break down, because I'm glad I've chatted about this a bit. Mm-hmm. Break down in your words your understanding of dopamine, what it does, how it affects you for the audience.
Not getting too scientific, but it is a chemical that releases in the reward system of the brain. So the brain remembers it through a reward. So it increases through pleasure and through things that are that you enjoy. And
what
therefore,
about having sex?
Yeah, well, dopamine 100% will increase in that. So therefore,
what about drinking alcohol?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, carry on.
Therefore, if I am low dopamine with ADHD and autism and ADHD, things that are detrimental to me, sex, drugs, gambling, spending money, eating loads of food, things in excessively are going to be done at a big level at times in our lives. We're more at risk to it because our levels are low. Somebody without these conditions get up in the morning, and I still fail to understand this, put the kettle on and the dopamine rises because they put the kettle on and they have a good day.
Yeah.
I have to go for a bloody 5k run and Google how to skydive before my dopamine even goes a tiny bit up, and nobody understands that. And this is how our relationships massively get affected by this lack of dopamine. And even recently, I know all this stuff, but it affects me. And it's it's out of your control at times. But when you do work with it and have got people around you that can manage it, it does get better. But it's hard.
So that was a good offshoot. So you just said literally how dopamine affects your relationships. It
could be loads of good things too that increases dopamine. So we've named some of the bad. So I think I want to go create. I'm an artist, being creative, music, exercise, meditation, learning a new skill, learning a new fact. I'm trying to think of things. Being present, like feeling, touching, everything increases dopamine. Again, some of the things that I listed before don't always necessarily have to be bad. Sex with a loved one, like you're in a, intimate relationship and that, it's not a negative thing. Do you know what I mean? It increases dopamine. Affection, attention. That's why ADHD, we love a lot of attention, a lot of validation, a lot of compliments. All that increases dopamine. So there's a lot of good things as well that can enhance dopamine. And I think when you are very aware that yours is low, you have to be very mindful to implement the good more in your life.
Would you agree with my colleague that you think that people who are neurodiverse are more sexually deviant?
I think, I can't speak on behalf of everyone, but I think that people who have lower dopamine are more at risk at overindulging in things that have dopamine releasing factors. So that's sex, that's drugs, that's drinking, that's gambling. So if I know that my dopamine spikes through any of them and I feel really down and low most days because my dopamine's not high naturally, it's not. I wake up sad. And we all do. We're at low dopamine. We don't wake up happy. We wake up like, we have to work to get that. And this is what the sad part is. Sometimes I can be an absolute cow, right? Because I'm low in dopamine and I know a fight gets dopamine. So I'll cause an argument for dopamine. And it makes me feel even worse. But by me being horrible, I'm only trying to get happy. Isn't that sad? I think when kids be mischievous and naughty, or I don't like the word naughty, but challenging, they're trying to get happy. And they're kicking off like this. And I'm like, look at them, blah, blah, blah. But if I just think, they're just trying to get happy. Like, wow, that floors me. They're trying to get happy. Me causing arguments, I'm trying to get happy. My brain doesn't feel happy right now.
So, Sarah, you mentioned about dopamine and someone's being, kind of shirty or edgy. Mm-hmm. Let's talk. open here about, so if you're in a relationship with like, you know, your partner.
Yeah.
In your kind of experience, when you mention these dopamine levels being low, and you say you want to kick off, but you don't want to kick off because you just want to...
You don't know you're going to kick off. Your dopamine's low and you're impulsive.
So give anyone... Because I think, for me, this whole topic and theme of relationships, it's good to explore this and be raw.
Yeah.
And you could talk in the third person, as we said.
I'll just keep everyone anonymous.
And let's just stay on the dopamine first. In terms of like if you have a boyfriend or vice versa, a girlfriend or whatever, you know, partner. If you're neurodiverse and the dopamine levels are low, how does that, in your experience, or if you want to give analogies, you think is the downside and the damage of those low dopamines?
I'd crave attention. So I might, if I know you're in love with me, I might say things to you that might trigger you into showing me more affection. And if you're, so for instance, if you got an argument over something little and my partner and boyfriend at the time would say something like, I don't like it when you do that, I might go, don't be with me then. I don't want to, I'm not bothered, don't be with me. Knowing that he'd be like, what are you saying that for? Like, I want to be with you, stop it. And then therefore, I'm getting that attention, that glorification, that what's it called, reassurance in an unhealthy way that they want to be with me and that my ADHD and dopamine's rising and I'm feeling secure. But it's such a toxic thing to do because I'm constantly then in that cycle of, don't like that. I'm like, don't be with me then, it's fine. And then in the end, they're going to go, don't want to be with you. And you're going to go, ah!
Been there.
Yeah, and it's hard, but you don't even know you're doing it. And even though I know all this stuff, right, I've recently just got out of a relationship, and it's only when I reflect back on a lot of things, but I think I definitely... It's almost like a gate. Do you know when you're winding someone up when you're a kid and you're getting their attention from them and it makes you feel like powerful and better in that minute, and it makes me sound like I'm a dead nasty person, and I'm not. I'm impulsive and I've got low dopamine, and I'd notice there's probably more of a nighttime as well when it'd drop a bit more as well, and I just goad almost to get it.
Yeah.
You know, and when I look back, it's just so unhealthy. And at the time, though, I feel like I really can't help it either. It's like I genuinely feel like I can't help it. Like it's like I'm possessed or something because my dopamine levels are low. Where I know, for instance, my past relationship, whatever, there was 2 weeks when I never went to the gym, and that was the last 2 weeks and detrimental part of our relationship. And when I look back now, I look overall, and I never went to the gym properly for them 2 weeks. So therefore, my dopamine levels would have been even lower. I was already stressed with all different things going on. It would have been even lower than usual. So I was being well worse than I normally was because my dopamine levels are lower. Do you get it? And it's not all me. God, you know, our partners can be assholes as well. Do you know what I mean? And they can have moments where they deserve us shouting stuff back, and you know, people are people, and that's okay. But as a pattern, I am noticing when that I am a lot more argumentative. And they've even said to me they couldn't be bothered with the eggshells because they know the cycle would come where after a few days there'd be another one. But then I'm looking at that now thinking, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to fight. I don't want to argue. I absolutely love this person with my whole heart. What am I doing? And it is because my dopamine levels are low, and it's the only way in that moment, subconsciously, I feel like I can spike it, which isn't good, is it? But knowing this and knowing in the future with somebody, I'll know for certain I'll need to be someone who's very patient and very strong in their own mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in their own mental health and their own willingness to understand my mind, because it's hard. It must be hard work for another person to handle that and to deal with that a lot. I can take full responsibility for that, but also I am amazing as well. I've got all these amazing qualities. I've got the biggest heart in the whole world, and people on the spectrum and stuff like that. We're real, aren't we? We're very real.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. What if I was like a dating site and we asked a question? What would you say? Even though you're ADHD, are your... And be honest here, your strong points that you think you're very good at in a relationship.
I think I'm so thoughtful. Like, I would literally think of the most minutest detail and remember things about you. And like, because my brain holds on to a lot of information, if I'm excited by it. So, and I love giving gifts and things like that because it's dopamine again, isn't it? If you give a gift, you get dopamine. So I'm so good at all that. I'd say I'm really honest. I think that's a really good one. I'm really loyal. Like, as much as I'm like how in one sense I'm so loyal, like I'm not gonna lie to you, like you know, everyone tells like white lies, don't they? But I'm not gonna massively lie to you. I'm not gonna like what you see is what you get, basically. There's no like hidden agendas, there's no backstabbiness or nothing like that. I think in autistic people particularly, I think we're very black and white. Like if I've got an emotion, you know about it. If I'm sad, you'll know about it. If I'm happy, you'll know about it. And I think that's a really good quality, isn't it? You know, at least, you know, quite really honest. I'd say, I don't know, good qualities. I think there's never a dull moment, you know.
That's definitely.
We think outside the box, you know. So I'm gonna surprise you. Like even my ex used to laugh his head off at loads of little things I'd say, and he'd be like for days laughing at the most randomest things I'd say, because I don't even know what's coming out of my mouth sometimes. But you're quite funny and humorous, aren't you? In terms of how you just randomly say like one liners.
That's definitely neurodiverse.
Very witty. Yeah.
I wouldn't know how to break down neurotypical, because I know some people crave in a relationship adventure, and I always like to think that the reason why I've had relationships with specific women in my life is because they know the adventurous side of me, the risk taker.
Let's just go and do it.
Weird stuff, and I think that is attractive to. I'm not talking for, but to a lot of women who like. Some women do like a very basic man. 9 to 5, you know, and that's fine. Person. And that's fine as well. The reason why I'm asking that is that I think it's good that, in terms of exploring this for neurodiverse people watching this,
we're not for the basic, basically.
Yeah, and this is why I thought it was really great, Sarah, to do a whole thematic thing today, as raw as it can be, about relationships, the ups, the downs. So I want to dig even deeper in terms of the pros and cons of relationships. I'm talking about relationships now, and that is long-term relationships, marriage, relationships with your children and what have you. I'm talking from some personal experience, but also just from the work I've done over the last 25 years with people on the spectrum. I think that the hardest thing that I think I've learned about being neurodiverse and relationships, I would say is understanding from the people that you really want to care about you and love you. That's your mum, your dad. My mum always said, "Oh, you're a boy," but she never made me feel that I was not worthy or indifferent, because she loved me. And I think true friends, and if you do meet the right partner, do understand and get you, but it's hard.
It's so hard.
So if you're asking me for anyone watching at home, and
sound like still a black. Sound like still a black.
Well, I just go.
What's behind this door?
Anyway, I sound like Cilla Black. She's saying, "What's behind?" No, I mean,
sorry.
What I'm trying to say is, people that really truly love you and that put the effort in to understand
a lot of rewards as
then you really should never really doubt that, even through your darkest times, or when they know, they understand the issues you're battling with. But that should be...
We need assertiveness, don't we? Like, I think that's the biggest thing I've learned so much. Like, I've friends since I was like a baby, and most of the people in my life have very strong personalities that'll tell me no, like to my face, no, I'm not doing it, and that's it. And even if I kick off about that and I'm like, why? They're like, because I don't want to, and that's it, I'm not doing it. And then I kind of get this level of respect, and that boundary gets set in my mind then, and then I'll go, oh, okay. Where if people aren't assertive with me, that's where I will unknowingly push their boundaries and hurt them. And like I must have hurt my last relationship without knowing, because they can just switch off and things. Like, I must have done that without fully knowing. And I think it is assertiveness over everything. Like, and I do think it's a quality that you can definitely learn. If you don't think you're the most assertive person, you know, to be with someone who's neurodiverse, you need to be assertive. That's it. You point blank, period. You need to be assertive. No, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want that for my dinner. No, I don't want to go there. You need to be like that, even if they kick off. And you need to be to endure the storm and be able to cope with that storm for that minute, because they will calm down in the end and talk about it. But you do need to put yourself as a, not just say yeah, because we'll just say that's fine. I take people what they say to me as that's the truth, you know, a lot of the time. But also we can smell as well when people tell white lies, can't you? I can smell it, me. Do you know if the eye goes to the side a little bit, or the hand moves or something, my brain goes, oh, there's a pattern that I've seen before. Oh, there's a pattern from an unworthy person, which is really good, but it's also a detriment to yourself as well. I can go, or something like that, based on past behaviours and patterns that I've recognised. But sometimes I can put them patterns and stuff in stuff that isn't there, and self-sabotage as well.
Do you know what? Massively. It's good that you mentioned that. I mean, I would say that I've been gifted with a real good talent of developing and working with kids and understanding what they need to progress creatively and to change their lives. But there was a guy that I was working with, and I had to give him homage, Paul Kincaid, who ran whack of me, and he had it's like a second sense when he met kids. And I think I got a bit of that, but he had an absolute gift to just meet the kid. And so he was known as the youth mentor in my college. And his role, he must have saved thousands of kids alongside the work I was doing. But his skill and that's why when you just touched on it, it just made me feel a bit emotional. That some people really have a gift of smelling.
I do.
And I love that thing. If a child is a bit odd or needs help in certain areas, and it's a gift. Some teachers, as I said before, that train to be teachers, and I've got to go into it a little bit, don't have a clue in the classroom setting to spot the kids that need that extra.
You can only operate on the level of what you know. So this is the bit that I know. Like, I'm 34, but I know in the past I'd say bloody 20 years, no, not even 20 years. Yeah, 20 years of my life, from the age of 15, probably lower, I've struggled massively with my mental health, like in detrimental ways. Not like, oh, I'm a bit down. I mean, like suicide attempts, self-harm, like I've suffered, yeah. So all that knowledge and all that pain has taught me to recognise, and when you're autistic and stuff and on the spectrum, you recognise patterns at a mass level. So I know my patterns, I know what I feel in these places, and I know what I've felt before I got to these places, my behaviours and how I acted before that, and when I'm hiding it in front of someone, or when someone says they're fine and when they're not, and when they look to the left, because I've done all that, I've done all of it every single day. I've put a different mask on, I've been whoever you wanted me to be, I've got work out there called who do you want me to be today, because I didn't know who I was masking every day in my life. So I can look at someone in the eyes now when they walk into a room and I go, they're struggling with that. And it could be the way they speak, and it's because I've done it. It's not because I'm this big genius. It's because I've been there and I know exactly how it feels, and I know exactly how it is to cover it up. I've recognised the pattern in my autistic mind, registered the pattern, learned it, seen it, and put it there as a programme. So now when someone walks in, you can ask anyone in my life. People run away from me because they don't like the deep conversations. They don't like that I actually see through them. But it's only because I've been through that much in my life that it's like I've got all this... I've got it, I can feel it. I can almost feel it from someone, because it's like it triggers a time in my life when I've behaved in that exact way, and my brain mirrors it and remembers it. And that is one of the most genius, beautiful qualities about being on the spectrum, is the ability to recognise patterns on a mass level when we're not even conscious of it.
I pick up your passion when you talk,
yeah,
Sarah.
Because I'm just like...
I've been told I'm like that sometimes when I'm talking, like
you're
really,
creative,
really passionate. But what I have learned over the last few years, when I'm having to explain and to talk to people or young people, is because my mind's always racing like 1,000. And I think you're mastering it, and I think you'll master that, being able to slow down, because we run I think you know what I'm going to say, like 2 feet.
Just because you're not Scouse stuff, that's all.
No.
It's only because he's not from here. You all know what I'm saying.
I spoke to Scousers and they can slow it down. I think it's about, and I could see the excitement, and and listen, and I'm not in any way, when I was in my 30s, I was running at 1,000 miles an hour. But I think just in the last literally few years, especially starting my PhD, I've been learning to try and slow down my thought process, analyse the way, be a bit more mature in how I debate and talk, and
I've definitely learned like how to almost, when I always think like when you've got these conditions, you're walking on a tightrope for the rest of your life. And I've learned how to recognise that when my tightrope's not swinging, I've got a few seconds to go, how are you going to approach this? Don't say that. Breathe. You know, kind of sketch your places more than this does. And I've learned all these skills. But when life gets in the way, so i.e. a relationship breakdown, or, you know, someone that I really care about in hospital, or something's happening, it's like someone's swinging the tightrope. So then I'm trying to still walk on it, and I'm going, whoa. So the ADHD and autism are a lot more difficult to manage, and your impulsivities are a lot more difficult in that time to manage. So I feel like in them times, or when I'm really stressed out, it's more difficult to not say that thing that you shouldn't say, or not go online and spend £200 on shoes that you don't need, or, you know, it's a lot more difficult to control the impulses as much as it would be if you're calm. But I think a tool like meditation helps so much. Meditation saved my life, 100%.
Yeah, I do a lot of meditation, and I do a lot of things that, I mean, as I said before, my main thing is that I'm Christian. I practice my faith, and I think that's, for me, and I think with anyone that's neurodiverse, you need something. Yeah. That's what I believe to give you foundation and I think meditation or prayer, whatever you want to call it, is
exercise.
Yes. And as I said before, dancing saved my life, but the creative arts in its entirety, I could say, saved my life. So in all my podcasts, Miss Sarah Gustafson, I've always asked a few questions that I think just, you know, kind of gets perspective where you are. So I'm going to ask you a question I've asked virtually everyone that's been in my podcast. Yeah. If you had, like Harry Potter, a magic wand, and you could wave that wand and change the world to better help and work with neurodiversity, you could take a few minutes. What would be that you think the main thing in the world that you would change to make life and the world more understanding around neurodiversity?
I think not just for neurodiversity, but for everyone. I think we should always try and think, how does somebody else think? And I think that is something I'm trying to learn now, because as much as I'm like wanting people to understand my mind, to understand my behaviours and why I act like this, and I think it's so vital and for that to happen, because there's so many people like me out there, like us, you know, beautiful people that are misunderstood, and that if they're just loved or in the right way, we thrive, don't we? But equally, I've got a job to go, even like, you know, learning from my past relationship. How does he think? How do they think? They don't think like me. They think like this. So therefore, I have to learn about how they think as well, to be able to understand them as much as they have to learn how I think to understand me. And I think it's a work of both neurotypical and neurodiverse coming together with an understanding of each other. And I think that's what will make this world so much more enjoyable for all of us.
Is that magic word then, did you say understanding of each other?
Understanding of both. So I can think, now, like I was talking about my sister, I might, like, I'll obsess about something with every detail and go on and on and on and on, and because it ruminates in my head. That's my autism. It doesn't switch off. So if, you know, I'll keep using the breakup, but that's a recent thing, that'll ruminate. What did we say? What did they say? What did happen? Blah, 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 blah. And I'll go on and on and on and on. And my sister, I'll understand that my brain's stuck. So she'll like help me unpick it as many times as I need to without getting a cob on with me. But then if I ask her about her life and I've asked her once, she'll go, don't ask me again. You've asked me and I don't need to talk about it again now. Where I'm like, oh, don't you? Because I need to talk about it over and over and over and over and over and over again to become to some conclusion, because I analyse every outlook, every avenue, every way it is. But she doesn't. She spoke about it and it's done. And she doesn't need to talk about it. And I admire her assertiveness for her saying it. So I go, oh, okay. She doesn't say it rude. She just says, my brain doesn't need to talk about it anymore. It's done in my head now. And I don't need to. And I'm like, oh. So it's like she can have patience for me repeating things maybe. But then I have to have almost the same patience for my questions in my head to ask her about her situation again, but it's got nothing to do with me because she doesn't need to talk about it anymore. And that's what makes us work then in our relationship, isn't it?
Understanding. I love that.
It is the understanding.
This is just feeding to my,
I need to do it more like.
The questions. In your years of practice working with people that are neurodiverse, and I'm just going to touch on my thesis, creative learning versus didactic learning, or creative learning for neurodivergent young people. In your experience of the work that you've done, and I've kind of seen some stuff you've done on, with your working kids and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think, and this is another question like the wand, are the benefits of learning creatively?
I think dopamine massively. I think every single human being in the world learns and remembers and enjoys more things when your dopamine's raised. And I think being creative and using, your imagination and movement and colour and all that stimulus increases the dopamine reward system in the brain. So therefore, learning's going to be more enjoyable anyway.
I knew that, but I'm glad just to hear someone say it.
Yeah, so it's just that aspect of being a creative person, and it doesn't even mean like you've got to draw. It's just the taking part in it, and also it's the unrigidness of being put in a box. The freedom to express and explore, and to know that it's okay. It's like our society that we're born into now. We don't get messy in our homes. We keep everything pristine. Everything is right or it's wrong. All the subjects we get taught, it's 1 + 1 = 2. With art, it's like, let's draw this horse, but I might do an expression of what I think that horse looks like in my imagination. And someone else won't. That's not a horse. But to me, it is. And there's no right or wrong, and there's no good or bad. It is. There's people who obviously can, anatomically draw, and there's people that have a more of a talent to some people, to other people's opinions. But art's very controversial. Creativity is very controversial. It's all about being comfortable with things not being one way or the other, and that massively gives resilience, doesn't it?
I think I said before, didactic learning is a set way. Being creative allows, especially people who are neurodivergent, to be more experimental, give a bit more diversity.
Isn't that at first, you say it in a school environment, mathematics is really hard for me. But then that's because then your brain almost like doesn't give you any rewards, and no chemicals are released because it's absolutely boring and it's cold stone. But then the minute you go into doing dance with it and putting the numbers with that and the steps and increasing mathematics in a way where your brain's remembering a reward through dopamine, then when you go back to doing maths, the brain goes, oh, these numbers are fun because we used to use these to dance, so the brain starts releasing a chemical that makes it enjoyable for then you to go back and stand environment to learn.
Can I give you a round of applause, sir?
You can.
Because you've just rebounded what I was saying about once you're doing well in something else, it can then... It
counteracts. If you remember it, if the brain associates it with a memory, so it's like...
It's happy and...
Yeah, so if I'm an artist, everything's creative, everything with me, I see everything in pictures and colours, and that's me, everything. So if I am then going to do Romeo and Juliet, and it's a black and white book, snooze, can't be bothered, not happening, it's not getting done, like, it's boring to me. Then if you put the film on, obviously it's a bit more like, whoa,
Dopamine.
And Leonardo DiCaprio's there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then you make me read the book. I can imagine now with my imagination that Leo is saying all this stuff to me. Dopamine, obviously dopamine, because Leo. But dopamine. But then, then throughout that workshop, you got me to draw the scenes. Boom, we're on to something, aren't we? Then when you pick up the book of Romeo and Juliet, rather than the first time you give me it, my dopamine's going to spike because of all the fun activities I've drawn in it, because of the film that I've watched, because of all the things I associate with it. I'll sit there and read that now. I'm not reading it when you first give me it because it's a black and white book. My brain's got no reward for doing this work. basically. But when I know the reward is all these images of Leo, all these drawings of Leo, look, I'm going to Leo, see how hypo and dopamine it's rising already, can you see it firsthand?
That's good that you give yourself, as you're talking, we can read it and see it. And I love that. I think in my symposium...
That's the reward for me to then read the book. What am I doing it for? Everyone's a pragmatic learner, but when you've got no dopamine, it's harder. Like, I go into a classroom now, and even now, when I learn now, and people say, like, I need you to do that, and I go, what? Like, why? Like, what are we doing after that? Show me the pattern of why you want me to do this activity. Where's it going? Because then I'll do it, because I know what the reward is. If you want me to do it because I'm going to get a PGC after it, I'm going to do it because I'm going to get a doctorate after it. Where's your reward? And the deadlines are good as well. Well, not good, but why do people on the spectrum wait until a few days before? Because we've got all this time. There's no dopamine. All this time.
Time management is terrible.
Yeah, but why? Because there's no dopamine. A few days before, what happens? Panic kicks in, adrenaline kicks in, dopamine goes ding, 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 ding. It's like a game now. It's like I'm against the clock. Can I beat it? Can I do it?
That's
dopamine
always...
through the roof. You'll get it done.
I work on that. Listen, I could talk to Miss Sarah Gustafson all day long. And I think I'm going to invite her back. Probably one of the first people to do a part 2, if you don't mind. But Sarah, listen, it has been really great talking to you. And I think if you can go away today, especially the topics and themes we talked about, relationships, dopamine.
I've had so many fights in my life.
No, but we can...
We'll go there another time.
Listen, for those who are not aware, I'm going to be holding a symposium. People say, what's a symposium? It's like a day where you invite a lot of people to come along and discuss, debate. There's presentations, there's discussions. But my whole thesis for my PhD is around learning for neurodivergent young people. So my whole symposium is going to be exploring with people like Sarah and the ADHD Foundation, the Brain Charity, maybe All Day Hospital, and a variety of different tutors that engage through the creative arts. And that's going to be on November the 29th at Liverpool Hope University Creative Campus. Tickets will be coming out soon. If you're in the school environment, if you're a teacher, if you're a professional and you want to come along and debate and discuss creative learning versus didactic learning, or as I said, creative learning for neurodivergent young people, message me, but my flyers will be out soon. So that's Friday, the 29th November at the Creative Campus on Shore Street. Sarah, can I just say thank you?
You can.
So much for a very, very open, curt, and open discussion about, and I think for the next year, this is the type of
I think these discussions,
podcast.
as you said, I think there's thousands of things we could still speak about, and I think being two neurodivergent people, it's good to have that in-depth insight and how you can use it to benefit your life as well as how we use it to cause our life stress. It's a real roller coaster, isn't it? And yeah, I've got an adult art class starting on a Wednesday. It started already, and that is 6 to 8 in Croxteth. And I've also got children's clubs running the Reece Jones Centre at the minute, but throughout the year, next year, wherever they might move, but they're in Croxteth again. So shout out to that. So add my pages. It's at a.ur.tistic, which is AU artistic. So it's like AU artistic because it's autistic and artistic together, but I'll put
it on the screen.
And also, I've just launched a company, CIC Dopamine Rooms. We haven't got funding yet, but we're doing all these things for free as of now.
We'll
for
talk
people.
About that for sure.
Yeah. So, but if anyone else knows any options or any streams or anything like that, I want to link us up. But also add at dopamine_rooms on Instagram and come and see us. And yeah, we've got courses for everyone, all ages, men. We've got men's courses. We've got teenage course. We go into schools. We don't just talk about neurodiversity, but everything that we do is neurodiverse taught in terms of we can learn being neurodiverse. Because I always say I can't learn in a neurotypical way, but everyone can learn in a neurodiverse way. Every single human being can learn in a neurodiverse way. So that's that, and they're all about mental health, and they're all about the mind and why we act certain ways, but they're all fun. And they're all based on my life experiences. So yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Doves Ross Williams' PhD, Creative Learning for Neurodivergent Young People.